Lights rang out on the town, seemed to have no end, and people watched, and they could not believe their eyes as it carried on through their cries. A dozen dead, maybe even more, and it hurts so deep, 'cause we've seen this all before. Again we say something should be done. Again we stare down the barrel of a gun. Not again. Still we've not learned. Not again.
I'm reading from an article by Julia Ledour that was written on the 21st from the Washington Post. On January the 21st, a shooter opened fire on the eve of Lunar New Year at a dance studio in Monterey Park, California, a majority Asian Los Angeles suburb, killing 11 people. 2 days later, related shootings at 2 locations around Half Moon Bay near San Francisco killed 7 people. There have already been over 40 mass shootings in 2003, as of today, the 25th. In the United States, according to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been more shootings than any other January on the database's records, which go back to 2014. The staggering scope of U.S. gun deaths goes far beyond mass shootings. Mass shootings where 4 or more people, not including the shooter, are injured or killed, have averaged more than 1 per day in 2023. Every week has at least 6 mass shootings. Last year, we were a little lower than the year before. There were 647 confirmed mass shootings in the U.S. The toll is immense. Less than a month into 2023, mass shootings have already killed 70 people and injured 167 this year in America. And I was trying to get the director of Big Brothers Big Sisters on the show, but he had to cancel and move to next week. So I was thinking of just showing a rerun instead of doing the show this week. But this weekend, probably like you, I was completely overwhelmed by all the gun deaths in Monterey Park, Half Moon Bay, the gas station in Alameda, the school shootings in Iowa. And we don't have to go around the country to Florida, Buffalo, El Paso, Las Vegas, Aurora, Uvalde, etc., for example. So I was compelled to put this show together. Solutions in general: insurance on weapons, universal background checks, disarm all domestic abusers, raise the age to 21 to purchase firearms, safe storage, eliminate the purchase of automatic and semi-automatic weapons, stop the proliferation of black market guns, eliminate ghost guns and easy purchases over the internet, and do not allow direct purchases at gun shows. And speaking of gun shows, the National Gun Show is going on the 28th and 29th at the State Fairgrounds. So we should be out there protesting this right now instead of sitting here watching that Saturday show. Speaking of that Saturday show, welcome to Season 3, Episode 3. I'm your host, Tom Dent. That Saturday show, of course, is brought to you by the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice at 202 Harvard Southeast, where our mission is to promote nonviolence, human rights, disarmament, and ecological sustainability and create a culture of peace. On Saturday, February the 4th, is our annual membership meeting that goes from 12 until 3, so don't forget that. Please show up to that. Don't forget our weekly free food distribution takes place in our parking lot every Saturday at 9 a.m. And please stop by the Peace Cafe from 10 until 3 for a free lunch with great music and conversation. As you probably already guessed, the show is dedicated to dealing with gun violence in the U.S. and how to stop the proliferation of guns. What I say here is my personal commentary and doesn't necessarily reflect the Peace Center's positions. If you have contrasting ideas, like all the subjects and issues we bring up on the show, feel free to contact the Peace Center, let us know, and if you have contrasting ideas or ideas I haven't thought of, submit them to the Peace Center. Go to our Facebook page, that Saturday show, and say you'd like to be on the show or comment there. This is the public show, filmed at the city's Studio 519. All are welcome. The little snippet you just heard in the beginning of the show is from a song called Not Again by Gregg Robin, and as you saw in the graphics there, he wrote it between the Parkland shootings and the Aurora shootings. And we'll be playing the whole song later on. And after I'm done right here, we'll be showing an ABC News interview with Mark Bryant, the executive director of the Gun Violence Archive that Linsey Davis did 6 months ago for ABC. And then we're rerunning my conversation with Miranda Viscoli, who is the co-president of our Peace Center ally and Pajola group, New Mexicans to Prevent Gun Violence. And our final segment will feature a TED Talk with David Farrell entitled A Solution to Gun Violence in the U.S. In U.S. history, sorry. The solution to gun violence found in U.S. history. I encourage everybody to constantly call your U.S. senators, your U.S. congresspersons, the governor, your state senators, your state reps, and demand sensible gun laws. Email, call, and never stop. My personal thoughts on the Second Amendment, it's archaic. It calls for something akin to forming National Guards in a time when it took forever to load a musket. Any military weapon or upgraded weapon is designed to kill multiple people in times of war and should never be owned by anybody in the public. They are not, I repeat, not designed for hunting or target practice. Please come by 202 Harvard Southeast and check out our murals, check out our Peace Hall, check out the Peace Hall in general. Please support our great work at the Peace Center. Donate, become a member, have your group become a member, volunteer, and call us at 505-268-9557. And check us out at our website, abqpeaceandjustice.org. And if I have a little bit more time before we go to the ABC clip, I can't even, at this point, back in the Ice Age, I'm too old to even remember the group that I was a part of, but it had a little symbol with no handguns, and I was adamantly against handguns and weapons probably most of my life, but definitely when I was 17 and 18 years old and actively involved in that campaign. I personally don't own a gun. I don't know that many people that do have a gun. I called up at one point, a number of years ago, I called up District Attorney Carrie Brandenburg to tell, I left a message at her office that Dominguez and Sandy, officers Dominguez and Sandy should be tried for murder in the case of James Boyd. And I didn't think I'd hear anything back from her, and I got a phone call from her about 5 days later, and she said, "Tom," I go, "Yeah," and I go, "This is Carrie." I go, "Like Carrie who?" Carrie Brandenburg, and we had a long discussion about how hard it was to form grand juries and prosecute and get proper data from the police departments. But she said at one point, Yeah, everybody I know has a gun, and I'm going like, well, I don't have a gun. I hang at the Pew Center and around the university a lot, and so maybe I'm sheltered, but I don't even believe we should have open carry. It's kind of funny, when I first came to New Mexico in 1980, when I first came back, I was going to the Lobo Pharmacy, and you know, the McDonald's, the old McDonald's, they freshened it up, but it was right there. And I saw two kind of ranch hands with big old 6-shooters on their side going into the McDonald's. And I got right on the payphone, that's how long ago that was, and called the cops. And they just laughed at me and said, oh, don't you know this is an open carry state? You're not in New Jersey anymore. So check out these videos, pay good attention to them. We'll see you next week on that Saturday show. Sorry, Mark, I had nothing more to say. I couldn't think of anything more to say.
Among the chorus of whys is the chorus of what now? How do we stop this bloody trend terrorizing America and America's children? Last month, President Biden signed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first major bipartisan gun legislation to pass through Congress in nearly 30 years. But one major question still lingers. Does it go far enough? Could it have prevented the 4th of July shooting in Highland Park, Illinois, that killed 7 people, or that devastating massacre at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, that killed 19 children and 2 teachers, or the racist attack at the Tops supermarket in Buffalo, New York, that claimed the lives of 10 people, or a shooting at a medical building in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as people worked and visited their doctors, killing 4, all of these happening within the span of just a few weeks this year. The bipartisan Safer Communities Act includes $13 billion in new spending for mental health programs and securing schools. It makes background checks stricter for gun buyers under the age of 21, helps to close the so-called boyfriend loophole to restrict domestic violence offenders from purchasing guns, and incentivizes red flag laws to remove firearms from people deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. But here's what the bill does not include: universal background checks, a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and raising the age to buy a gun from 18 to 21. Joining us now is Mark Bryant, Executive Director of the Gun Violence Archive, which provides near real-time data reporting of American gun violence. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's start with the Uvalde mass shooter. He was 18 years old. In Buffalo, the shooter was 20. In Illinois, the 21-year-old suspect had prior run-ins with the law enforcement, including a threat to kill everyone in his family. He bought a high-powered rifle and other guns legally before turning 21. Would the enhanced background checks in the Safer Communities Act have stopped any of them from buying a gun?
It would stop them from buying a gun at a gun shop. It would not stop them from buying a gun. There are too many guns available on the black market, and trades on a Walmart parking lot, or deals made on the internet. So it would slow down someone. It would keep them from just being able to go to a gun shop and buy a gun, but it would not keep them from buying a gun.
And what about the red flag laws? Both the Uvalde and the Highland Park shooters had a history of violent social media posts. Would that have prevented either of them from purchasing a firearm?
You know, it should. If you look at the Highland Park, he even talked with his father about gun violence, and that would have been the biggest, well, I guess, red flag on a red flag that you could have, and it did nothing. Because for red flag laws to work, people have to act, people have to report, people have to make subjective determinations.
And there's a quote, I'm sure you're very familiar with it, often used by gun proponents when it comes to the gun debate. The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. How is the leaked surveillance video of inside Robb Elementary School as the shooter stalked the halls and then showing police officers holding their positions as the minutes went by, how is that all changing that conversation?
Well, we've known for years that the good guy is the way to stop a bad guy. Is a fallacy. It's farcical on pretty much every level. More guns truly do mean there will be more crime. It's just a reality that we live in. So when we look at how the incident at Robb Elementary occurred, I think that's going to look at how the law enforcement addresses these incidents.
If you were a legislator and you said, you know what, there's one thing that must be included in this gun legislation, what would that have been?
I think lowering the capacities of magazines. Right now, magazine capacity, anything from 5 to 100. And the more times a shooter has to change magazines, the more opportunities he has to screw up. And by screwing up, he takes extra time, and that gives law enforcement most of the time an ability to go in and stop him or his gun jams. So if we look at on mass shootings, the public type, like the ones that you've mentioned, just cutting down the number of magazines, cutting down the number of rounds that he can spray in a room at a given time. Those guns are very well designed to sweep and kill everything in a room, and they do it very efficiently. We have to take the efficiency away from that without without maybe taking the guns away, because I think that's a battle that's not going to happen. But if you could take the capacity away from the magazines, that would start slowing things down.
This is a kind of a crystal ball question here, but would you say that based on the current legislation that has passed, that you think it'll make a difference as far as eliminating or lowering the number of shootings going forward in this country?
The high-profile shootings, I don't think so, because they are so unusual and so unique that we just don't see the signs. In retrospect, the signs are everywhere, but looking at them from the front end, you're not going to see those signs. And so I don't see it really helping these that much, and that's really sad. Because they need to be, these kind need to be addressed. The red flag laws are going to be the ones that are going to, over a long period of time, start to address this.
Mark Bryant, Executive Director of the Gun Violence Archive, we thank you so much for your time and insight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Hi, good morning. This is Tom Dent with That Saturday Show. With us right now is Miranda Viscoli, the co-president of New Mexicans to Prevent Gun Violence. Miranda's up in Santa Fe. Good morning, Miranda. How are you doing today?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, but we're seeing all this stuff happening all over the country, and people with access to weapons, and more brainwashing coming at them all the time from a number of different sources, anti-Semitic, pro-white, and we just had that horrific shooting up in Buffalo with the 10 black people, with this guy who traveled 230 miles from his home and planned this out since March. What are you seeing there, and what are you seeing in general in the country with the state of gun violence, and how in the world can we prevent all this from happening?
Now, those are good questions. So I'll start first, I guess, with Buffalo. It was once again a young, white, racist man with access to assault weapons and firearms and an insane amount of ammunition. And we see these racist attacks on people of color over and over and over in these mass shootings in our country. And I think in this specific shooting, you have to ask, why wasn't there an extreme risk protection order in place? That was the first thing I thought of, because this young person, we don't say their names because we don't want them to be become the heroes they think they are, but they're not. They're horrible people. When he was 17, as most of us know, he had threatened to shoot up his school, and he had also decapitated a cat and tortured it to death.
Wow.
And said to his mother, "I'm surprised I didn't feel anything." Now, I'm sorry. Those parents knew when he turned 18 that he bought 3 brand new firearms. And they didn't question if maybe this wasn't a good idea for him to have a firearm. with both those instances, and who knows how many more there were. My other question would be why, when he was on social media and was saying, I can't believe I tricked the police and the mental health folks to think that I really wasn't going to do these things, why didn't the police do an extremist protection order? They could have easily, because there was no crime yet, they could have easily filed for an order and made sure that this young racist man did not have access to firearms. And second, we need to start holding people online a little more accountable. If somebody, we have the First Amendment, but that doesn't mean you can go into a theater and yell fire when there's no fire. And if you're on social media and some idiot is sitting there telling people about how they're going to, want to, shoot up and kill as many black people as they can, you need to pick up the phone and call the FBI. You need to call law enforcement immediately. I get, let me turn off my phone, sorry. I get threats all the time on social media because of the work I do, and that's the first thing I do, is I turn them into the FBI. And that's what we all need to be doing. If we see something, say something. We need to get very diligent about making sure that these folks that are out there who are racist and who believe in this replacement theory nonsense that is abhorrent, that we rein them in. And that we also look at ourselves as a country. I mean, we were founded on genocide and slavery, and that has never gone away. We are still an extremely racist country, and so, but now we also have amassed a bunch of firearms.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy amount of firearms. I think somebody joked once, what if we get attacked by China? It's like everybody around every corner has a whole bunch of firearms. And yeah, it is crazy. What was I going to ask you? Yeah, we saw this in Houston, and it's a serious social media problem. And I guess somebody was on mainstream TV. It's saying like finding these enclaves in this chat room and Discord is like finding a needle in a haystack, and they're only going to invite like-minded friends and stuff like that. And one thing that scares the hell out of me is my daughter is a gamer, and she's played a lot of games on Discord, and she's very careful about not giving out her name, location, or anything like that. But if it can happen on Discord, and what is this other horrible thing that's called Twitch or something like that, I guess it can happen all over the place.
Well, I don't think that it's that the Twitch is horrible or the Discord servers are horrible. They're being misused, and I 100% believe that our next generation will figure out a way to rein this in because they understand that world. My son being one of them. So I think that we need to, find ways to, similar to PSAs on don't drive, don't drink and drive, do that same thing with these Discord services and with Twitch, and have them really start messaging out there that when you hear this type of information, you do something. And I know that those chat rooms can be found. That is not.
I'm sure you've heard the news and stuff around Albuquerque, New Mexico. It seems to be like national trends that violence with weapons is going up more each year. And one thing that I was worried about, I guess, supposedly Raul Torres has been on this for a while, and he's used this as kind of a campaign promo that he's really coming after the militias and stuff like that. And we just had the double pro Roe versus Wade protest at Tigris Park last weekend, and apparently 8 militia type guys, InfoWar guys with megaphones showed up there with weapons strapped onto them. And I guess this is an open carry state, and I thought that he was going to try to put forth a law that they couldn't show up as quote unquote their little law enforcement at protests, but I guess this hasn't happened yet or been filed yet.
I think it's very hard to file because the city will get sued because we are open carry. This is, good for Raul for trying. That's very brave, and I hope that we can get it done. Because we're an open carry state, that would go against our constitutional right to carry and open carry. So it's what we need to do is get to the legislature and open carry and concealed carry. There's there's no reason for it. We don't need a bunch of armed folks. I know, and we're passing bills at the legislature. Right now, they actually did, while we're under this governor, we can do it. They can say, we own this building, you can't have a firearm in here. They can still have their protests and have firearms outside. And it's been much nicer to be able to work on gun violence prevention laws and not be followed by folks with AR-15s that give you menacing looks while you walk to the water fountain. So it's nice to have that. If we ever get a different governor, and especially if we ever get a Republican governor, those guns will be right back in the roundhouse, which is dumb. It's a marble circular building. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, when I was on the Community Policing Council, I guess tourists and other officers investigating the influx of guns and stuff like that would say, like, oh, there's tons of different gangs and sub-gangs, and these guns are moved through these gangs, and people purposely break into people's houses and gun stores and stuff like that to circulate the guns in New Mexico. Is there any new legislation or any police control in the state to try to track down exactly where these weapons are coming from?
Yes, we do that. It's difficult, but many of them are stolen. So the amount of stolen guns, many of them are stolen from cars, is a serious issue in New Mexico. That and simply, we're awash in guns. I think we're the second or seventh highest rate for gun ownership in the country. Wow. So those guns are out there. We know from doing gun buybacks how many guns are out there. But it's an issue. If gun owners would start locking up their guns, then yeah, that would make a big difference when it comes to crime.
And this is probably a prime time to announce, I guess Susie was telling me that there's going to be a big gun buyback happening, on June 11th in Albuquerque?
Yeah, so we created a program called Guns to Gardens back in 2016, and there were other states, organizations doing similar gun buybacks, where you would do gun buybacks and then transform them into gardening tools. We simply own the URL, Guns to Gardens. So we all banded together and have created the Guns to Gardens National Buyback Day. And this will be our first one on June 11th. We will have ours in Albuquerque from 11 to 3 at La Mesa Presbyterian Church, which is at 7401 Copper Avenue Northeast. But there will be, I think we're at 21 other cities across the country on the same date that will be doing the Guns to Gardens National Buyback Day. And this will be the first annual, and we hope to have one or two every single year. And our dream is to get these in every city in the country. And a lot of people say, oh, come on, gun buybacks, that says feel good, which I thought too. I was like, no, we don't do gun buybacks, that says feel good, until I saw the pictures of the gun buyback they did years ago in Albuquerque with piles of semi-automatic handguns. And I was like, wait, we should be doing gun buybacks. And so we started this program. This will be our 14th gun buyback in New Mexico. It'll be our first one in Albuquerque, but I think APD has done a couple in Albuquerque over the past couple of years. And what we've seen is that, for one, 33% of the guns that come into our buybacks have been semi-automatic handguns, semi-automatic rifles, and assault weapons. And then we also have an anonymous survey because we want to collect data on why do people participate in a gun buyback. Well, the majority are doing so for safety reasons. And we hear a lot of anecdotal stories, even though it's 100% anonymous, but we will have people in tears that some of them don't even want the gift cards, that just are so relieved to have a place to bring these guns that maybe they inherited, maybe they have a teenager with suicidal ideation, and they just don't know what to do with the guns because they don't want them to end up in unsafe hands. And so this is an opportunity for people to, who want to, it's 100% anonymous and it's volunteer, to turn in those firearms. And then what they get in return for it is $100 for a pistol or a long gun and gift cards, $200 for a semi-automatic handgun or semi-automatic rifle, and then $250 for an assault weapon. And we give Walmart cards, Target cards, Amazon cards, gas cards, and grocery cards. People can mix and match. And they are in and out in 3 minutes. Unless there's a long line, sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't.
Well, we're starting to run out of time, but I guess this is going to be aired right after Mental Health Awareness Month, and you would probably say to anybody automatically that there's a major connection between mental health and the status of owning guns and using guns. And I guess what I saw at one point that there's a huge amount of suicides related to gun possession and gun violence. There's been a big push with Bernalillo County, and I hope in the state for mental health awareness. But and like somebody like what's his name up in New York, I guess when you're 18 years old, you can probably go to some place like Cabela's or something like that and automatically use their firing range without your parents knowing about this. But I guess we need to look at warning signs for individuals in general and in our children to see if they're suicidal or even planning to harm others with weapons.
No, that's true. In New Mexico, 63% of our gun deaths are suicide with a firearm.
Well, aside from the gun buyback, what are you guys working on, and how can people contact you and get involved?
They can go to our website at www.newmexicanstopreventgunviolence.org, and we are working on legislation, 3 more gun violence prevention murals. We have a huge gun safety event on June 4th, where we are actually forging guns into gardening tools, handing out free gun locks. We have a drawing for free biometric gun safes, as well as gardening tools that have been forged. There'll be free tacos, and that again is on June 4th at the same place of the gun buyback, which will be the following week, which is La Mesa Presbyterian Church at 7401 Southeast Copper Avenue Northeast. And so if anybody wants to come on down, grab some tacos, get some free gun locks. There'll be crafts for kids, and we'll be doing a live forge of a gun into a gardening tool.
Yeah, well, it's great talking to you, but it's bittersweet that we have to talk about these issues under these circumstances, and we really appreciate the job you guys are doing up in Santa Fe. Is there anything going on around the state that you're concerned about? Any type of gun kind of channels that come in from other states or Mexico or anywhere else? And then there's the web where you can buy one from Utah, get a ghost gun, make a 3D gun.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, we actually do very little work in Santa Fe. I just live here, so we actually work all over the state, but not that much actually, to be honest, in Santa Fe. The guns are not coming from Mexico. The guns in the United States are going to Mexico.
Right.
Because it's what we call straw purchasing. We need to look at what we're doing to Mexico and South America, because so many people are living in fear of gun violence by the cartels, and those guns, many of which are coming from the United States. So not only are we destroying our country with gun violence, we're destroying many other countries because
and obvious to probably us, but maybe not to other people, that a lot of people on the border are there because they're in fear of the cartels, they're in fear of death squads in El Salvador and Honduras and things like that. They're not coming here to replace white people and steal your freedom. They're coming here for safety and to not be killed.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Thanks very much for joining us on that Saturday show. And thank you very much for your efforts and everything you do.
Thank you. Take care.
Shots rang out on the town, seemed to have no end. And people watched, and they could not believe their eyes as it carried on through their cries. A dozen dead, maybe even more, and it hurts so deep, 'cause we've seen this all before. Again we say something should be done. Again we stare down the barrel of a gun. Not again. Still we've not learned. Not again. How many times must we be burned? Not again. We've not come very far. In the end, is this who we are? People still protest. We want to have our guns. It is our right, our need. This battle will be won. And the NRA is mobilized and sure. It's the price we pay, and somehow must endure. Not again. Still we've not learned. Not again. How many times must we be burned? Not again. We've not come very far. In the end, is this who we are? Look around the streets and see children everywhere. Look at how they laugh and play, seem without a care. What have they done wrong? This makes no sense. How can we protect their innocence? When will we accept our own responsibility? It's our society. Is this the price of being free? How quickly we forget the news that once more fades. Just one click and it's gone, and with it goes our rage. Again we wait for something to be done. Again we know we've only just begun. we be burned? Not again. We've not come very far. In the end, is this who we are?
Until the next time, it's time to say goodbye. When you out here in the streets, keep it real, 505. We love everybody, we just want to let you know. Thanks for tuning in to that Saturday show.